And we are live. We are live. So, welcome to Easy 3 Sport Production. I'm your host, Suttles. And today we got the 914 crew. Of course, the guy that we always know is super late. But we got Kurt the Magnificent here, man. How you doing?
I'm good, John. I'm good.
All right. All right. So, we're going to kick off the season with the Giants talk. I mean, we did the Knicks before, and we seen what happened in the playoffs. As you can see, my man Kurt got the Knicks steering wheel, so you know that we roll deep. Knicks, Giants, but I want to get your opinion on this first, Kurt, since you're the one that's here. But what was your thoughts about last season, about the Giants last season?
I thought Daniel Jones pretty. I felt like the offensive line still wasn't there, and I was hoping they could do better this coming season with the offensive line to help Daniel Jones out.
Of course, of course. I mean, last season, we ended up being 6-10. I actually predicted that we was gonna be 7-9. But Stonehand Ingram ended up dropping the pass in Philly, which basically cost us the division. And had the Giants fans actually out here rooting for Eagles to win in that last game. And that whole debacle, Philly is all messed up. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. Daniel Jones needs to play better. That offensive line needs to get better. The defense was looking pretty good, but I like the way Joe Judge is going, and I like the way his coaching style is. He's going to bring this team back to the promised land, and I think we got the third person coming in. Let's just see here. It's not coming up. All right. So, what are you actually looking for the Giants out of this season, Kurt? Kurt, can you hear me? He cannot hear me. Huh? Oh, you can hear me. Oh, all right. So,
I can.
All right. So, what are you looking for the Giants to do this season?
This season, looking for more of a better offensive tempo from them. Defense has got to be a lot better. That secondary is not looking as crisp as it should. Watch season.
All right.
The better secondary offense will be better.
All right. All right. See, Delow trying to get in, saying it's not letting him in. Hold on just 1 second, D. Hold on just 1 second. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Try and get in one more time. That's the only thing with the live stream. Oh, it actually worked.
Man, because this is great.
All right, here we go. There we go. There we go. So how you doing, D? What's up? What's up?
What up, Brody?
Late as usual. Late as usual.
Nah, technical difficulties. I was on time.
You was not.
I was though.
All right. So I was just asking Kurt about last season. So what are your thoughts on last season? Like, what did you see? What was positive? What was negative?
I think the biggest thing for last season is the fact that we didn't have a training camp. We didn't get a full training camp, so I think that definitely hindered some opportunity to get some cohesion, so on and so forth. I think then going into the season, the defense, it was respectable. You know, I'm okay with that. Offensive line is obviously everyone's big issue. It's the biggest deal that we kind of faced overall with the offensive line, trying to shore that up. It just seems like every year we add another piece to that O-line, And for whatever reason, it doesn't get any better. Like, it doesn't make it sense. Add another piece, whether it's a draft pick, whether it's a signing, trade, whatever it is, and it never seems to make much of a difference. And then I'm going to save all my comments for Danny Drops later on. I ain't going to go into that shit. I'm going to let that go. But overall, it was a season that it's in the past. I'm going to leave it there. We know what the problems was. I think we addressed some of those issues moving forward, especially giving Danny Drops some options. So we'll deal with that down the road.
All right. Yeah, everything that you said was definitely on point. Like I said, the offensive line was the biggest thing. They were ranked 31st last year in passing. I mean, they did respectably. I think they were ranked around 11th in the run game, but overall, it really showed. When there's nobody blocking for Daniel Jones, there's absolutely nothing that's about to happen. So about the free agencies. All right, the free agencies we got this season, they went out there, they spent some big money, they maneuvered a lot of contracts. The biggest one was Kenny Golladay on the offensive end, and on the defensive end was the second cornerback, Adoree Jackson. So what are you really expecting out of these free agents, D?
I think the biggest thing for the free agents for us to be able to see but so much, I was told once upon a time, and I think that makes a lot of sense. When it comes to that wide receivers, back, all that type of stuff, there's levels to it, right? So in order for the wide receivers to do their job, they have to have time in order to actually get open, right? And in order for them to get open, the quarterback has to have time to be able to make those pitches, right? So for all that to happen, it starts with the O-line. So even with these signings, a lot of names, a lot of things that, you really can't load the box any longer because he's got weapons. But at the same time, you might want to load the box because you know what Saquon can do. You know what his things or what capabilities he has. So it's kind of just like, if you load the box and make the other weapons beat you, now you're putting the onus on Danny Drops and making sure that he gets the ball out in a timely manner. But again, he needs time to do that. So even though, I rip on him a lot, but he needs time to be able to make those throws, make those progressions, and so on and so forth. So I definitely love the addition. We got a big guy, or a big receiver, I should say, Kenny. Then we got, draft pick Darius. Love that, as well as speed, the size, smallest guy, but speed. I love that. Kyle Rudolph, I think he'll probably be a lot more situational because of Father Time in there. If Evan Ingram could ever hold on to the ball when it really matters, that would actually make a huge difference as well. So I like the pickups. I like what the offensive side looks like. The defense, I think it should be solid. I don't think it's going to be top 15, top 10 or anything like that, but I do think it'll be solid. So it's just a matter of what comes next in terms of the development of that O-line and how things come together on the offensive side. Head coach Clapp, Jason Garrett, he did a good job at the very beginning in Dallas. DeMarco Murray in 2014, you look at what he did with that offense there. That was cool, but short of that, I don't know. So Coach Clapp, Jason Garrett, I want to see some things out of him as well because, again, you got a full training camp now. You got a lot of weapons to implement, and you got a back that's hungry because he got to get paid. So we got to see what's coming next.
That is true. I think Kurt over here having technical difficulties again, but let's see if he'll be able to get on in.
He ain't staying in the party.
Let's see here, because hold on just 1 second. Let's go ahead and there we go. Kurt, can you hear me? Can you hear? Yo, I swear, every time he's like just a statue. He's just standing there like
every time.
Every time.
And he's not even in his crib this time, so you can't even blame it on that.
Yeah, nah. So can you hear me at all? Yo.
I'm gonna try to get onto a laptop, so I'll get back with y'all in a second.
All right, though. You still got the link, so just click on it, and then I can let you on in. So to keep on going with the free agencies, the free agency signings this year. All right. So the free agency signings this year, like I said, Kenny G, that was a real big one. And he wanted to be here. Like, he didn't want to go nowhere else. He didn't go visit nobody or anything. He liked the way Daniel Jones was. He liked the coaching staff. He understood what was going to be, basically what we was expecting out of him, and he wanted to come here. And Adoree Jackson, that definitely shores up our number 2 cornerback, because last year James Bradbury played on an all-pro type level. He only got to the Pro Bowl. but he was on an all-pro type level. He was a lockdown corner. And our secondary corner, we had Isaac Yadam over there. He was getting burnt. We put Julian Love over there. He was getting burnt. So it was just a whole debacle. Like anything on the other side of James Bradbury, they was eating alive. And that's going to really shore it up. And defensively, they just went in on free agency, and everything is just coming together. So I really do see that we're going to be a real top 10 defense, even top 5. But basically, these free agencies is just here to plug holes. And like you said, need time for Danny to throw the ball. I mean, at the end of the day, can't no quarterback sit back there and do Patrick Mahomes type Superman type stuff with no offensive line. And especially when the wide receivers was dropping most of the balls. Like, so we'll get more into the statistics about Danny, because you know that that's going to be a topic simply just for you. It's going to be a topic. But the free agencies that they did, they didn't spend crazy big money. The salary cap really got maneuvered, so they had to do some creative thinking and reconstruction. A lot of people's contracts and things of that nature, but they was able to fit everybody in, and we're just going to see what's going to happen there. So now moving on, we was just talking about him, Saquon Barkley. You was talking about how hungry he is. What does he need to do to get that long-term contract? Because you know, shelf life for a running back is not that long at all.
I mean, honestly, health is wealth. I think the best ability is availability. You've heard all those cliches 1,000 times over. We know what he can do. We know what he's about. His rookie year, over 2,000 yards rushing, and then the next year drop up to 1,400. So we understand that injuries played a factor to that O-line not being what it needed to be also. So I definitely think he just needs to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, there's no doubt in my mind they could prove that he's worthy of the second overall pick if given the opportunity. And again, Coach Clapp, Jason Garrett's offense, if he's able to do what he has done for I was getting ready to say it for the Mavericks, for the Cowgirls, over the years, whether it be 2014, I mean, even though he wasn't running the offense in terms of the coordinator, in what was it, 17 and 18?
17, 18, yeah.
With, what do you call it, Zeke. But his numbers was great as well. I think the biggest issue that happened with Zeke is he got his money. So once he got his money, his hunger wasn't the same. And I think that hunger that Zeke had to get the money is now the hunger that Saquon has to prove that, look, I wasn't a bust. These injuries is not going to be my entire career. I was worthy of the number 2 pick, and I want my money. So I think, and again, in order for him to be a success, he just needs to be healthy. Again, I personally don't think that you can load the box with him there. With all the options that he's got. Yeah. However, that might be the case because you know what you get from Saquon. And until Danny starts to prove something in terms of getting the ball out of his hand and not throwing, I'm not going to harp on him yet. I'm going to wait. In terms of Saquon, I just think that he just needs to remain healthy. Easier said than done from my couch than it is for him to do it on the field. But that's the biggest thing for him moving forward.
That is true. Shout out to the chat, man. Shout out. Yeah, he said the legend is returned. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. But with Saquon, basically, that's the biggest thing. It's just availability. I don't want him to go down the Todd Gurley route where he looked fantastic, looked like a offensive MVP when he's out there on the field, but then at the end of the day, he's never on the field to get those yards that we actually need. Now, for him this season, I'm looking for him to have at least 1,800 yards from scrimmage, and because he's a big indicator on how the success of this offense is going to run. As you've seen last year, or just with Jason Garrett overall, his system is based on the running back doing most of the work. He's going to hold on to the ball. They're going to chew up the clock, and then the quarterback just needs to make some decent plays just to get the dub. That's how Jason Garrett's offense is. As you've seen with DeMarco Murray, he even had Marion Barber at one time, and even with Zeke, the philosophy is running everything through the running back. I mean, Jason Garrett had Wayne Gallman last year, ending up with 8 touchdowns. And we did not have a spectacular offensive line. So that just shows you what kind of scheme he likes to run. If Saquon was back there, he was probably having like 20 touchdowns. But Saquon is a different beast. He's a different monster. And yes, he is extremely hungry for that long-term contract because running back shelf life is not long at all.
Yep.
And he's entering into that prime where it's like, yo,
you can get a good 4 or 5 years out of him, and then that's
exactly,
it.
exactly. And for him to be that number 2 overall pick, I mean, he has to be worth it. Like, we see it when he's on the field. He is the best running back in the league overall, bar none. But he's not on the field. Now, here's a little statistics for you. This is why we need him more than anybody else. So when he's on the field with Daniel Jones he throws 23 touchdowns, 9 picks. Off the field, without him, throws 11 touchdowns, 12 picks. Saquon makes a huge difference for what that offense is going to be because he's a threat running. He's a threat for a home run hit, and he's a threat just out the backfield, just catching screens, catching swing passes, and going and making something out of nothing. And Danny really needs that. Danny is not at the point where he could take a team on his back, carry them, and take them to the playoffs. Nowhere at all. He needs the team to work for him. And Saquon is the major piece that he definitely needs.
So I like those numbers. Those numbers are cute. Yeah.
Exactly.
With Saquon there, and then when Saquon's not there, absolutely got you. He's passing over about 300 yards per game with Saquon there, and a little under 200 when he got you. I'm with you. Cool, great number. Sounds good. Looks good on TV, NBA, and NFL films. All that. That's awesome. However, at the end of the day, he can't do but so much if the box is loaded and everyone is coming for him. Right? If everyone knows, we got to stop here. So it's really up to Danny to make a big difference in terms of getting the ball out and, seeing his progression, seeing his reads and going through what he needs to do. And I've got a huge thing against him meaning Danny drops, that as soon as we get to that segment, I'm definitely going to attack him on it because I was never sold to begin with. So I definitely want to see some things before I can, make a final. But I'm teetering on
a sound decision. To make a sound decision to be like, all right, this is our guy.
Correct.
And that's it. All right.
Correct. Because I already know my next move after him too, but I'll leave that alone. Leave it alone.
All right. So now we're gonna move on to the coaching. Joe Judge. Last year, because he's in New York and because it's the biggest media, the way that he came out with this aggressive style, old school type style, a lot of the media, they was bashing him for it, but they were seeing results. That's the main point of what the Giants was. They were seeing results. They ended up being 6-10, didn't have a talented roster at all, didn't have a good offensive line, but a lot of those wins came from just Judge and the mental aspect of his coaching ability. So I would like to ask you, what do you think of his coaching style? Do you think that it will work going forward, or do you think that the team is just going to give up on him how they did like with Ben McAdoo and ended up being 3-13?
So with his coaching style, first of all, his coaching style is a little different. It's a little out there, especially with the older guys. You gotta ingratiate yourself with the older players, and the younger players kind of will follow suit after that. His coaching style is a little atypical. It's not something that you typically see, especially the way he is. I understand where he was going in terms of trying to clean up those penalties because you got to learn how to not beat yourself before you can learn how to win. And obviously the Giants have had these struggles over the last 3 to 5 seasons prior to Judge's arrival. So I understand where he was going with it, but at the same time, I think it kind of has to go hand in hand with if I'm seeing results from the way that you're coaching with this coaching style that is not atypical from a typical coach coming in, then I can roll with it. But if we're not seeing the results, we're not seeing the turnaround, then I have a problem. Now, last year, 6-10 technically doesn't look very good, but if you go to the 2 seasons prior, 3-13, I think.
Yeah.
Before that, it's like 4. So it is a step in the correct direction in terms of the win percentage, and I think he just has to continue to move forward because, again, his style is different. It's out there. But I think that he's taken the correct steps in terms of what he's trying to clean up. The approach, I don't think anybody would call him a player's coach, but at the same time, I think there's a method to his madness, and that not necessarily being a player's coach is not for everybody. Maybe aside from Tomlin, maybe Carroll, guys like that who have kind of made themselves. Maybe Carroll fell out of favor a little bit with However, I think being a player's coach doesn't necessarily always win. You can look at Bill Belichick. I don't think anybody would ever say that, but he's got the wins to go with his style and the way that he is. I just really want to see the forward trend. If it continues to trend in the correct direction, and this year things start to look really good. And it's going to be a total team effort. It's not going to just be on Judge. It's
Exactly.
not going to be on Danny drops. It won't just be on that O-line. I think it has to really come together for everybody. But in terms of him specifically, I just think, progression is moving in the correct direction. So I'll give him that. But again, it can't be a type of thing where, to use an analogy, if we were working on our bodies and he's getting the cholesterol down, but you can't see the abs, right? So I'm not showing any abs. I want abs, right? You get my lower cholesterol, that's cute, but I don't look good in a bathing suit with low cholesterol, right? I need the abs. So the traditional way, get me to getting the abs, right? I want the abs. I don't necessarily want just the health factor that comes with it. So when I can tangibly see the results, that's different. And I can see that there is slight progress, but I need a little bit more.
All right. See, now for me, I'm going to say, like, the minute that they hired him, I was happy. I was overjoyed. Not because I knew who he was, because I didn't. Not because of the past or the coaching tree, because he came from the Belichick and the Nick Saban coaching tree. I was not excited about that. I was just excited that the Giants ownership, that they went in a different direction than they usually did. And that was my biggest thing. I was like, look, you had Coughlin, you won Super Bowls, all right? Coughlin got out, then you got McAdoo. McAdoo's an offensive coordinator. He knows nothing about defense. You win one season, then you end up losing. You fire him. You get Pat Shermer, who's an offensive coordinator, and he's just a nice guy. He's just overall just a nice guy. He's not a head coach. And we end up losing with him. Now you get this guy, Joe Judge, and when he got up to their press conference, seeing, what he was talking about, I'm like, all right, cool. When he got me when he said, I will not be calling plays. I said, yes, finally. Somebody who's going to be a CEO type head coach and just oversee. That's what we're looking for. That's what we need. And his coaching style, it is pretty unorthodox for this time period. Because if he was in the 80s, it was perfectly fine. If he was in the 90s, perfectly fine. Because he reminds me more. Exactly. Like, he reminds me more of the Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin, those kinds of guys, just hard-nosed, going to hold you accountable. You're going to be a winner or you're not going to be here, point blank period. And that's how his coaching style is. And it showed a lot more, especially in this training camp, because this is his first training camp. And the guys that were already there, they knew what he was about. They're going through the training camp and they're getting through. They're working hard. The guys that they signed off free agency that they got to talk to, I guess that they've already spoke about, this is how we're going to run things. You're either in or out. Those guys are having fine things. But the later free agents that they signed, like on the back end, where they probably like just needed some bodies, 4 guys already retired. 4 guys, 4 veterans was like, this ain't for me. I'm out of here. I'm just going to sit on my couch. I'm going to get
don't work with the vets. If you're not going to show me there's immediate, I ain't got time for all of this development process. I don't have the time for that. I'm not putting my body out here. I put my time in. I don't necessarily have the time for that. So again, you got to get me some results sooner rather than later. He's building a process. He has a plan. He has a window. But sometimes you don't get to see that window go all the way through. You know what I mean? You don't get a chance to see the process from the start to the finish. If you're not winning games in the meantime, what have you done for me lately? So you definitely have to make. Again, I'm not I'm not out on him just yet. I definitely want to see more from him. I want to see where this goes over the next couple of years. To make a full judgment on him. No pun intended, but I definitely I'm cool with it.
I mean, I'm down with him. I like his coaching style. I like the way that he's holding guys accountable. I like it that it's either you're in or you're out. Like, if you're out, it's perfectly fine, but don't come here just half-assing and everything of that nature. And I really do hate the narrative that they're like, oh, he's from the Belichick tree, he's not going to succeed. The reason why the guys off the Belichick tree really don't succeed, one, they're not Belichick, but 2, each and every one of them, they try to coordinate and coach. You have to be a special individual to be able to coordinate and coach at the same time. Everybody's not built for that. Everybody that came off his tree, they came from the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, like Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator. I'm going to call the defense in the Lions. Terrible defense. And he ends up getting fired. But you go with Brian Flores. Brian Flores, down there in Miami, he's doing good. He's building something. Mike Vrabel out there in Tennessee, they've made the playoff and made a conference championship. So it's the way that you do it. It's just not, hey, yeah, that tree is trash. Don't hire it.
I agree with that. I think it's not just the tree. I think they try to do basically what you're saying. They try to go out there and imitate what he's done and do it the way that he's done it. And it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, like you said. I think that you have to kind of understand who you are, not necessarily because it worked for him. It doesn't necessarily have to work for you. You take somebody such as Pop in the NBA, it's a similar idea in which a lot of disciples that have come from him may not necessarily work to try to do it the Spurs way, because let's face it, the Spurs way is boring. It's effective when you have Hall of Famers, but it's not necessarily that. So I think trying to be exactly what that Hall of Fame coach that you left was, or try to do exactly what they did, doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And a lot of the folks from the tree of Belichick are finding that out. So again, I will give credit where credit is due. And again, the jury's still out on the judge.
Yeah, JK704. Yeah, exactly. Facts. Straight facts. This is how we spitting it. This is what Giants Nation is seeing. So moving on from Judge, now we're going to talk about the defense. Where are you seeing that this defense is going to rank this season?
Well, I'll start in the division first. I think in the division, I think probably the best overall defense in the division is going to be the Potato Skins. I definitely think that they got some weapons. In case you didn't know, there are no the Giants, and there's a whole bunch of other clowns throughout the rest of the NFL. That's just what it is. It is what it is. At any rate, the Potato Skins, I think, have the best overall defense. I think what they've done, sure enough, on their secondary, I think overall that's probably the best defense in the division. The Pigeons, you can forget them. They're done. They have nothing to offer us at all. So then it comes down to us and the Cowgirls. I think their offense, the Cowgirls, their offense is legit. Defensively, they have the whole. So I would definitely put us as probably right there in that second best defense in the division itself. Overall, earlier you mentioned, you'd say a top 10, top 5. I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far just yet. I think I want to see a little bit more before I can give them that prowess. Now, granted, some of the signings, some of the moves is okay. I think cohesion makes a big difference. And I also think the fact that, as mentioned earlier, them having a training camp, an opportunity to play together, work together, get a few preseason games in, like we saw last night, just to get a feel for each other because it's built over time. So we'll see. I think if you give me top 15, I can go in the top 15, but I'm not going less than top 10. So maybe in that 10 to 15 range, and that's at best. And if that is the case, then I definitely want to put us in the 1-2 race in terms of winning the division itself. If you're going to give me a top 15 defense and all the options that are available to us on offense, then I definitely want to see that 1-2 race between us and the Cowgirls for the division itself. Without question.
All right. Just want to know, we got Only West 34 in the chat, the Bronx Beast.
This guy. Low meatball.
Talking about Washington. He's like, the Washington football team is the best defense in the NFC East. Yeah. I may have some reservations about that. I'll talk about that. And the Eagles dead last season is honestly that's
what you could let Meatball know his Pigeons is over. You stick a fork in them. That best option is Flacco right now, so you can forget that.
Yeah,
you can forget that.
But when it comes down to the defense, and the reason why I'm saying that they're going to be top 10, top 5, last year they was overall ranked number 9. Okay, and so all they did was just get better. They showed up secondary.
Did they get better? Because again, I think what's understated too often is just like with the O-line, it's kind of like a string. They've got to all be moving on a string. They have to all be connected, and communication is obviously key. So these new pieces coming in, they look good, but does that always necessarily translate? That's why I have my reservations, because I understand, but that number 9 is good. I'd like to see that jump forward, but I want to see how it fits together.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But like I said, they've gotten better on the defensive end from the standpoint of on paper, but also you just seen that defense begin to get a lot better last year towards the end of the season once they began to get Patrick Graham's scheme. And once you get a scheme and now you're in your second year of it, they're going to play a lot better. Now you add in Xavier McKinney back there, and now you're adding Adoree Jackson on the side where he can play either in the slot or he could play the number 2. They added Aaron Robinson. He hasn't even started playing yet, but those are the things that they're looking to shore up, and I believe that that's what's going to take them to that next level. Now, they're going to be the driving force of this team. It's not going to be our offense. No matter how many weapons we have, it's going to be the defense, because one of the biggest things that we did last year, and that's how Leonard Williams got his big payday, was inside pressure. And the inside pressure that they was bringing, that's where everything was coming from. And when they drafted Zizo, oh my God, I can't even say his name, Zizo Ojulari from Georgia, he's supposed to be that outside rusher. Now, I'm not expecting crazy numbers from him, but I'm expecting from an outside standpoint, from the outside rusher standpoint, to be able to make the quarterback step up into that pocket where all that inside pressure is coming from. And now the secondary is a lot better, being able to cover a lot longer. The hardest thing and the problem that I may see is just with our linebacking core. We don't have an established linebacking core. They're all young outside of Blake Martinez. Still got Cam Brown, Carter Coughlin. They're all trying to prove themselves. They're all trying to make a name for themselves. So it's gonna be tough, but I definitely do see us one top 10, even top 5, depending on how the defensive schemes really add up and exactly who we're playing on those certain times. I just believe that we're gonna have a lockdown secondary.
Matchups matter too, so I
think
matchups is a big part of that as well. And the season, it's a long season. We had an additional game in there, so I think the matchups, when you catch it, folks, obviously injuries will play a part into that as well. So I think you just got to make sure that everything lines up correctly. That's kind of how those championship runs go when you are not an overpowering favorite. That's kind of how that works, where you kind of just want to get into the dance and then see what happens after that. So matchups make fights. We'll see how that plays out. Again, for me, I'm just going to reserve judgment completely until I can kind of see how that cohesion works on the field. Training camp is great because everyone's in shorts and t-shirts, so that's cute, looks awesome.
Yeah.
But it's totally different when you put those pads on and get in between those lines. So we'll see, how that works because he's a start.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely right. And I want to shout out Big Task. So Big Task, you in the comment section, the only West 34, he's an Eagles fan, and Rod Fife, he's a Washington fan. So they talking mad trash in the comments right now. Big Task, while we talking, I'm gonna need you to hit him up. All right, I need you to get at him. All right, you got that for me? Yes, yes. West, Eagles are trash. All right, Eagles are trash,
brother.
Right? Now, when I was talking about it, what Washington, I have the reservation on them being the number, the top defense in our division, simply because their front seven is elite. That is no question. Their front seven is elite. That back end is not as good as what people think it is. And the biggest thing that I'm thinking of is their defense is kind of based on how Carolina was when they went to the Super Bowl, where their front seven was elite. Their secondary wasn't that good, and Josh Norman really got exposed once he got out of there, as you can see of how bad that secondary really was without that front seven. Right. And I really don't fear them, simply because as bad as Danny has been throughout his short career, he's 4-0 against them. And we played them when they were when they had the number 3 pass rush and the number 1 pass defense. Danny threw all over him, over 300 yards. He's 4-0 against him. So honestly, Washington's defense, I don't fear whatsoever. I mean, outside of the division, Washington may be, putting the clamps on people, but in the division, it's not even.
But I think potato skins don't scare anybody. Nobody's afraid of them. However, I think when you overlook somebody, that's where they come up and get you. So I'm not going to overlook them. And granted, it's 4-0 against them. That's great. That sounds good. But that was seasons past. It's new year. They understand that. They know that. They understand what they need to do. There's plenty of information and intel out there on them to understand what to do. So I think that, you referencing that was 2015 team with the Panthers. I think you referencing them makes the point in terms of that front seven can get it done and can kind of hide, if you will, the lesser secondary. So if you're able to get to the quarterback and make them make quick decisions, it won't even get down there to the point where those two are exposed, or those two, where the safeties are exposed in that secondary and so on and so forth. So with that being said, I'm kind of just looking at it from the perspective of that front seven is so elite. Again, specifically in our division, but overall,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
front seven is so elite. I believe that they'll have enough to put some pressure on, opposing offensive line. And again, putting the two together, their front seven and our five, I'm not confident.
Yeah.
I'm not confident. And again, I don't even necessarily put that on Danny Drop so much as that O-line. Give him the time. He needs the time to be able to do anything. If he's going to make any type of jumps, if he's going to look anything like those years prior when Saquon was out there with him, if that's going to happen, he's going to need the time to be able to get that done. So when you've got those dogs coming after you and you start to feel as if someone's reaching on your neck and you're trying to just move and your pressure starts coming, that's where my issues come. And that's where I'm kind of looking at it from the perspective of, I'm not going to sit there and say that they're world beaters because their offense is not, up to par. So that's where I don't really fear them in terms of the team itself. But in terms of the defense, I'm still willing to give it to them because of that front seven.
Okay. All right, that's understandable. Yeah, the chats are blowing up right now. Big Taz, Ride 5 going back and forth with Washington and New York. And just to let you know, only West 34, he'll be on next week. And then Rod Fife, who's also in the channel, he'll be on the week after that. So we'll get those pigeons and we'll get those potato skins on.
There you go. There you go. You hit.
Break them down real quick. So now's the time. Danny Dimes.
Danny drops. Danny drops.
Danny Dimes.
Danny drops.
All right. So let loose. What's your opinion on him?
All right.
Got 2 years of film on him. Got 2 years of film. All right. So what is it?
So I'm a come with the positives first.
Okay.
I think he's an athletic quarterback that I think is underrated in his athleticism. He can run with the football. Aside from the goofy play in which he got, but what was he, down to the 10-yard line and then tripped? Short of something like that. But that to me also exposed the fact that he can get out and run. He can move. He's an athletic quarterback. So with that being said, I think he can do some things as a running quarterback, as a thrower of the football. I think that is ultimately what he can use to his advantage as either the pocket collapses or rolling out, and making plays with his legs. I think that's a lot of the time where his struggles come into play in terms of because he is holding the ball and trying to sit into that pocket. He doesn't run. He doesn't let himself go. Whether it's the coaching staff that's stopping him or he just personally doesn't want to make that mistake. It seems like when pressure starts to come, he then starts to fumble the ball. He's in that, okay, all right, I got to make a play here. Instead of taking the sack every now and again, take it. It's okay. Throw that ball away. It's okay. Or rolling out, making those plays on the run. So I think overall for him, where my issue is him holding on to the ball. That is my issue. I think that's probably the biggest issue that anyone could point out, and that's obvious, holding on to the ball. And, because that is known, obviously they're not trying to just sack him. Yeah. They're trying to get the ball out of his hands, and they're going to go for it. They're going to swipe. So they know that. He knows that, has to be cognizant of it. I think having Saquon back will make a huge difference for him to be able to have those short pitches and drop offs to him when he gets in trouble to try to see if he can open something up, down the field for him. But the biggest issue for myself is the fact that he doesn't use that athleticism, I think, the correct way. I think when that pressure in the pocket starts to fold in on him, his biggest thing is use those legs. Be a bit more of a mobile threat because you can. You're not Eli Manning. You don't have, stilts for legs and you just can't go anywhere, and that's just what it is. You just drop to the floor. So I think get out and move. I think that's going to be a big thing for him. So all in all, again, the numbers were great with Saquon, without Saquon. I understand. I actually saw a couple of deals where his numbers are actually somewhat better than that of Josh Allen, who actually just got his extension, just got his deal, if you're looking at it in the proper perspective. So I understand that. But again, holding on to the football, you've got to value that football for it to be worth anything. Otherwise, all of that is for naught. He's got the weapons. He's got the opportunity. So now it's one of those situations where, will I say it's make or break? I think it is make or break in terms of he got to show if he wants to get that extension and prove that he was picked where he, deservedly so. But I also think that he is tied with Gettleman. And I think as long as Gettleman is around, he's going to have the opportunity to stick around and keep going, keep moving forward. So unless he completely falls off the boat, I think he'll get the opportunity to see this thing through, but he's got to be making an improvement, and it's got to be a market improvement where we all can see it. Because again, I think that this is a huge season, not just for him, but for Saquon as well. I think the two of them, I think they split down the line the pressure and the pressure and the onus on the two of them in terms of making things happen, because it's make or break for the both of them. And they got to show it. Just got to show it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. For me, see, now for me, it's difficult simply because seeing him in that first year and seeing what he was actually able to do. 24 and 12, the numbers look good. And like I said, the fumbling, it was just a fumble issue. And we knew how athletic that he really was. My biggest issue is what you were saying. I think that the coaching staff is trying to hold him back from actually using his athleticism, because we've only really seen one game where he's just balled out, where it was just instincts of how good he was, and that was that Tampa Bay game, his very first game. Because if you look at it from there, it seems like the coaching staff was like, no, don't, like don't get out the pocket. It's too dangerous, and he's like, he's trying to, overthink everything.
Right, fix off of that.
Yeah, and he's just shooting himself in the foot. Like even last year, the first game, you go down the field on the Steelers, 11-play drive, you get all the way down to the red zone, and instead of throwing the ball away because it was only second down, you would have had another down, you try to force something, ends up throwing an interception. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot continuously. And he has all the tools. He's able to throw. He's able to run. He has all the tools to be that guy, but it's only, is he in the right system? Are they going to give him enough time? And honestly, I don't see this as a crazy make or break season. Like, hold on, let's see. Kurt trying to join. Let's see if he can get in. I don't see it as a crazy make or break season. Like, oh, this is going to depend if we're going to let him go or anything like that. He just needs to show some progression overall. See, now from his first year to his second year, it was progression. Now, a lot of people probably didn't see it because the statistics was crazy, because he only had 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions and things of that nature. But all right, so we got Kurt on here. You good?
Yeah,
Can you hear us?
I hear y'all. Y'all hear me?
All right.
Loud and clear.
But so like I'm saying with Danny, like even last year, the statistics wasn't there, but when you look at him, he looked like a quarterback that knew what the playbook was towards the end of the season. Because at the beginning, he didn't know what the playbook was. He didn't know where his outlets was. And you just seen it. Like he didn't know exactly where to go. Where was he reading? And Slayton going up on the side, and he was wide open, and he's looking on the other side. So he didn't really know the playbook at all. Towards the end of the season, that's when you really started to see him able to call out the defenses, moving on with the progression, understanding the playbook, moving forward. And the rookie year, he had 18 fumbles, lost 11 of them. Last year, he had 9 fumbles and lost 5 of them. So that's progression. You go ahead this year, I'm looking for you only to be fumbling around, 5, 6? Well, they added another game. It's going to be 17. So probably like around the 7 to 8 mark. That's what I'm looking for, the fumbling, because that's what his biggest problem is.
Look out for Kyle Rudolph too, because I think Kyle Rudolph is going to be a big portion for him in terms of a safety blanket, a security blanket, somewhat of a Gronk or Kelsey, or I think his name is supposed to be pronounced Kels. I think I just heard it's not actually Kelsey, it's Kels. At any rate, a security blanket. I think Ingram, nice talent, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to work on a consistent basis for us to be able to trust him. And for more importantly, for Danny to be able to trust him. But look at Kyle Rudolph, because I think that's going to be very important for him in terms of someone where if he gets into trouble, gets in a pinch, a security blanket where I know I can go here with the football just to get a completion, just to move the chains, just enough to get me out of trouble where I don't have to take those sacks. And when that pressure starts bearing down on him, that's where I can go with the football. So I do think Kyle Rudolph is going to be a very important piece. He may not put up magnificent numbers. He may not be one of those. He's not going to be an all-pro player or anything like that. However, I think that's going to be very important for his development and moving forward this year. And that's a great weapon that he's going to have in his toolbox.
All right. Yeah. So Kurt, we're on the subject about Daniel Jones. So what do you think about it?
So what I was going to say was, all right, D, you had your time for a while. Let me get my turn now to have some time. So with Daniel Jones, right? I was saying to John earlier that his offensive right? His offensive game should be good and very mobile, not like Eli Manning, standing still. I think, D, you said that a little earlier, if I heard it correctly. So the offensive line has to be a little better, right? I feel like the offensive line is still not there from the preseason game last night. Um, Also, for him to be mobile, right? If he's going to be mobile, he's got to look both sides. D, I think you said that. He's looking one way for Slayton and not the other way, or vice versa. He has to be mobile on both ways, able to move, but also he has to be able to get the ball out of his hands in time. That's the big issue I think we're having right now with Daniel Jones.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, this is going to show what we're going to do moving forward. I just don't feel like that it's a make or break. Like, oh, if he does terrible this season, then we're going to get rid of him. Now, if he ends up doing that bad and we only win like 2-3 games, then yes, he's definitely out of town. But more so on the fact of if it's an 8-9 game, type ordeal, I don't see him going anywhere. Now, for me in particular, I really do feel like this season he's going to have Ryan Tannehill numbers. Everybody's talking about Josh Allen, make that jump with Josh Allen. If he makes that jump that Josh Allen did, we're going to the Super Bowl. Simple as that. Because defense will be on point. If he makes a Josh Allen type jump, we're going to the Super Bowl. Huh?
I said with the weapons he has around him.
Yes, yeah. Now, if he makes that jump, I do not see that jump. I see a Ryan Tannehill. I see a Ryan Tannehill type ordeal, and not Ryan Tannehill from last year, because Ryan Tannehill threw like 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I'm looking for him. He's going to throw around like 20 to 25 touchdowns. He's going to throw around 7 to 10 interceptions, but it's just a timely manner of making the right plays at the right time, because that's what the biggest thing is with Ryan Tannehill. Now, Derrick Henry can run for 2,000 yards and everything like that. The reason why they can't put 9 in the box is because Ryan Tannehill makes the correct plays at those correct times. He knows what to do at the times. He doesn't need spectacular numbers, but he gets the job done. And that's what I see that Danny's going to do this season. He's just going to get the job done because Saquon's going to be the workhorse. Jason Garrett, his scheme is not fit for somebody to throw for 4,000, 5,000 type yards. He's going to run the ball. He's going to chew the clock, and the quarterback just can't shoot himself in the foot. And that's what I believe that is going to happen this season. All right, so how about you, D? What you see where his statistics is going to be this season?
So statistically, I keep it 100. I think he'll have a good season, right? As much as I am out on him, I think this will be the year where it is a bit of a make or break for myself in terms of this will show us, because there's not much more that they can do for you. The management has done everything they possibly can in terms of trying to give him all the weapons he needs. So that's why I kind of feel like it is a make or break, because how much more can they give you? How much more can they do for you? Short of the offensive line, shoring that up. Obviously, if he could have, some of the offensive lines of other programs, that obviously would make a market difference. But I really feel as though this will be the year, and I do think he'll make some progressions. I don't think he's going to have an awful year. That would really, really, hurt. So I think that, having Saquon back, I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off of him. Like I said, Kyle Rudolph, I'm really high on that pickup. I think he's going to have, a really positive season. And it kind of sounds like, well, how'd you go from hating him to seeing this portion? Well, the reason that I look at it from that perspective is because, he's putting in the time, he's putting in the work for it. His numbers haven't been god awful, but I think I speak for a large part of New York. I'm impatient. Like, I'm tired of this. Like, where's my Patrick Mahomes? Where's my Josh Allen? Where's my Deshaun Watson? Like, I need mine. It's like that's not it. So his name wasn't a sexy name coming out, but it was picked too high. I think you could have got him a little bit later on and picked up a few more pieces prior to that. So with that being said, I'm always going to be critical of that until I see, what I'm looking for. So I think this year he'll have a good season. I do think this year he'll, will he go over? I heard a talk about Dak talking about he didn't want to throw for 6,000 yards this year. Well, sir, you're not going to do that, because that's a little much to ask you to do coming off of injury. You're still not even 100% healthy.
But that's not their team.
Season, I don't have any. I'm not going to say that's not attainable. I think that's very attainable for him if he holds on to the ball. And if you do that, it opens up so much because now those weapons are there. He's got weapons to throw it to, and now it's one of those things where he becomes scary, if that is the case. So I'm rooting for him. It's just that if it doesn't happen, I won't be like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And if he has a successful season, I don't think he's going to make, as you mentioned, I don't think he's going to make that jump into Josh Allen's, stratosphere. I don't think that's coming. However, I do think he can be solid. I do think that is possible. It just depends on him holding onto the ball, and that even comes further than that O-line, giving him an opportunity to make the plays that he needs and the reads that he needs to make. So we'll see. I'm rooting for him, but I'm not going to sit there and purchase any jerseys that have number 8 on the back anytime soon.
All right. So Kurt, what do you see Danny doing this season?
Definitely not no Des Prescott type stuff, but he can't do that with this team. This team is a different team from the Cowboys. Okay, so it's gonna be a lot of more running, as usual, giant football. So I expect them to have a better passing yard percentage than last year. And I suspect him to actually run a little more. I think he's going to have a better rushing yards, I should say, this year than last year. Because he needs to run the ball, too. We talked about it. He has to be mobile. So I feel like he needs to run the ball and do more, too. I'm going to tell you one thing, though, John and D. And if Wes is watching, I bet you the Giants beat the Eagles twice. I bet you they beat them dirty Eagles twice. Wes, I know you hear me, Wes. I know you hear me.
I'll take that bet. Those little sorry bottom feeders. I'll take that bet.
But like I said, I don't see the crazy big jump. He just needs to clean some things up. Now, for me, you was talking about your Josh Allen, your Deshaun Watson. I don't even want that because elite quarterbacks, they want elite money, and when you have elite money, that means you have to mask all the deficiencies that the team has. So we're going to see probably when Josh Allen, his contract kicks in like a year or two, we'll begin to see what he can mask when that contract kicks in. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson got that money. They got rid of all his weapons, and he had a career year, and he only won 3 games. So those are the types of things that happen once those quarterbacks get money. Elite quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls. They keep you in contention. They don't win Super Bowls.
So
and if you want to,
you can't.
So you say
an average quarterback, right? Eventually, the way the market is set up, everyone's going to get their money. Eventually, you're going to be strapped because it's a cap and it's a hard cap. Eventually, you have to rob people to pay Paul, and the money has to go somewhere. So with that being said, right. I want the best quarterback on the field because they're all going to get paid, and not all of them, a large portion of them, minus like maybe I don't think Russell's overpaid, and I don't think that Mahomes overpaid. But I'll take Mahomes and his contract because I believe we'll be able to figure out enough. First of all, we want a Super Bowl ring. That's what we want. We want a Super Bowl ring.
A Super Bowl. You want one
on this contract, or whomever you got on this contract through that first rookie deal. Then after that, that's where your window lies. Because beyond that, they want to get paid. And if they win a Super Bowl for you, they definitely want to get paid. So if you ultimately want a Super Bowl, you're going to have to pay for it. And not before that actually occurs, but once it occurs, and I am now a Super Bowl quarterback, I want my money. There's not going to be anybody who doesn't want that money. I hear what you're saying, but you're going to have to pay eventually.
You're going to have to pay him because the market is always going to go up. But what I'm saying is that when you have a quarterback that's paid in the top 5 of the quarterbacks, that's strapping you. That's cap strapping you. You can have a quarterback that's paid in the top 10 and you can win Super Bowls. But when you are in that top 5, in that top echelon of getting paid with quarterbacks, they don't win Super Bowls. All they do.
The top 5 are paid to where they're paid because they've won a Super Bowl.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I don't think that's true.
Go through the list of the top 5. They've all won or right there, short of Tom, because Tom takes discounts for days. But short of Tom, once you win, you are now looking for your money to get paid. And so what I'm saying is, in terms of these quarterbacks, once you win, again, Nick Foles went and got himself a bag. No one's going to sit there and call him a top quarterback. Now, granted, he didn't get top quarterback money. But the point is, what's-his-face is looking for his money as well. His extension, he obviously didn't get what he wanted to get before moving on to Indianapolis. But the point is just simply, once you make it, once you win, and you are the one that leads the charge, you're ultimately looking for your money. So if we're using Danny Drops, if we're using him as
No, you said it right, Danny Dimes. You're right. You're right.
Until he changes that, he's Danny Drops. Until if we're going to try to use his window and try to capitalize on that point there, once that window is over, if he has won, he's going to get paid more. If he doesn't win, but you figure that he's your quarterback for the future, the Josh Allens of the world, he's going to get paid as well, which ultimately straps the weapons that you can put around him. So all I'm saying is if you win, that money that you got to pay, it jumps up. If you don't win, but you realize he's the guy, you're still going to have to pay. So why not, if I'm going to pay no matter what, I want the best of the best, and then figure out from there. I understand the more you give, the less you can give to the other positions around him. I got you. But at the end of the day, I want the best that's out there. I want something better than – we don't have a top 10 quarterback. When's the last time we had a top 10 quarterback? I want a top 10. I want to be in that conversation at all times where at the very least, you understand they're going to the playoffs. At the very least, you understand that they have a chance to get there.
Top 10. Top 10, I definitely agree. That's what you want. You want top 10. You're not looking because, like you said, if they won or if they got close to winning, that's when they get their bag. Correct. But the reason why they're getting their bag is because the organization feels that, hey, we value you so much, no matter what we put around you, you have to get us to where we're going to go. I'm not looking for them after, on their rookie deal that they won. I'm looking for that second contract. If they won on that second contract, that's what proves how good they really are. Most quarterbacks don't win on that second contract simply because they cannot mask the deficiencies on what they have. And when I'm talking about those types of things, let's use Dak. Jerry messed up because once the time that they were supposed to pay Dak, they could have gotten him for $27 million. Now, at that time, they was going to be like, oh, that was going to be a top paid type player, but you have him on a long-term deal. Now he waited so long, had him on the franchise. This year, Dak is about to make $75 million in 1 year. Like, he messed himself up. You could have gotten him on Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo numbers.
Markedly smaller after that.
Exactly. So it's just the timing of what you're going to do. You're going to pay. You are absolutely right. You're going to pay, but you have to make that extension, make that decision. So it may look very high, but then by the time it actually hits, it may be low as hell. So that's what I'm looking for.
Dak deal is just the fact that first year is massive, but each year after it gets markedly smaller. It's kind of the reverse of those NBA contracts where you see the first year is respectable, and then you look at a bad contract like CP3's, where at the very tail end of that deal, they're getting ridiculous money. So this is kind of the reverse in that he's getting the big money up front, and then everything else after that gets markedly smaller. So although, giving him that, I definitely agree that he probably should have given that money sooner rather than later, because now he's ultimately going to pay for it because he could have got him on a much more family-friendly deal than what he ultimately got. But exactly. I think that he's worth that money. It's just that if you would have broken that up and it's not 75 in 1 year, but if it was 25, 25, and 25, I think he's worth that. If it's 30, 30, and 30, he's worth that. Right?
It's 75. No, it's 75, 40, 41, 42, 43. That's how it is. Right. So he's still getting it. So Kurt, so what do you think about this?
Let me give you the I found it out right now. I found the listing on the top quarterbacks getting paid right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Starting this season. Y'all ready?
Yeah, starting this season.
Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. $49,000 a year this year.
Million.
I'm sorry. Million. I'm sorry. Word. Million. I'm sorry. 49 million this year. Okay. Josh Allen, 47 million. Mm-hmm. Dak Prescott, 43. Deshaun Watson, 39. Russell Wilson, 35. Jared Goff, 34. Now there's a few guys that haven't won a Super Bowl, and they're getting this money.
And
nobody on that list won in their second contract. Nobody. Russ won when he was a rookie. Once they paid Russ and once they got rid of the LOB, Russ has been out there. He's been cooking, but he ain't getting nowhere.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So Patrick Mahomes is the biggest one because they got him on that. They won the Super Bowl on his rookie deal, and now it's going to make a big jump. But Josh Allen didn't win. Jared Goff didn't win.
Right. Deshaun
Dak
Watson
didn't
didn't
win.
win.
Dak
Deshaun Watson.
for that team, it's not going to happen. As long as he keeps throwing 5,000 yards, it's going to look real sexy. They're not going to win simply because that team is not built for him. That team is built to go through Zeke. It's not built to go with aired out Dak.
If they were to shore up that defense, I definitely think, as much as it makes me grit my teeth to say it, the Cowgirls would have a real opportunity because
but they don't have a defense. That's the problem.
Right, but I'm saying if you were to shore up that defense, you definitely have to give the respect that their offense is going to be a high-powered offense off of what Dak is able to do and the pieces that they've got. I really don't like to say this out loud. But with all that being said, I do think that gives them a great opportunity as to defense. If they showed up that defense, that makes a difference. Granted, it bodes well for your point in terms of the first contract, that rookie deal. That first contract is where the guys aren't winning at, and now you're overpaying once you get to that second contract because you got to keep that guy under wraps because you don't want to see him go anywhere else. But the thing is, okay, if you don't pay them, somebody else will. If you're not going to give them that bag, the next person will. So if Danny Drops were to become the player that you want him to become in that first contract, if you don't pay him, Giants, the next team is going to pay him because he's his worth.
But it's constructed on the fact of it's not like the NBA. It's not like he has 1 year. He's not a Dennis Schroeder. He's gonna have 1 year. He's gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna test free agency. Like, no, you have the opportunity to, all right, I'm gonna franchise tag him, or I'm gonna take that 5th year option and then I'm gonna give him that extension where it's not gonna hit for like another 2 years. But all I'm saying is that when you're looking at it and you're looking at the statistics, if I'm looking at it, I want Danny to be within that top 10 range. So I want him, when we're giving him his extension, to be within that $40 million range. We give him that $40 million. Now it's not going to hit for 2 years. But as you was just alluding to, Kurt, the top guys that's getting paid, they're already in the 40s. So 2 years later, It's going to be guys in the 50s. So you're relatively, when you give him that extension, he's just going to fall down. The point is just to give him that extension early so you won't have to legitimately pay on the back end. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we have to even get to that particular point because he hasn't earned any sort of an extension at this point, which kind of brings us back full circle to we'll see what happens throughout the course of the season because all that is good. And again, I pose the question to you. So what you're telling me is right now, contracts and everything, would you take the swap of Danny for Pat Mahomes? Yes or no?
Would I take the swap for Danny? Contracts and all?
Yes. Would you take the swap right here as currently?
No. Actually, hell no. And this is why. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. It has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. Because listen. Yep. It has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a world talent. But what did we see in the Super Bowl? We seen when Patrick Mahomes don't have no offensive line, which we do not have at no point. Do you really think that he's going to mask an offensive line deficiencies? That's the thing. That's what the problem is when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is a big arm type guy. So for this team, no, I would not do that because Sterling Shepard is not going down the field like Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Kenny Galladay is not burning anybody like Nicole Hartman. Those are the things that you have to look at. It's set up for Patrick Mahomes for success. Now, if you're saying, oh, I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes' contract with this team, no, I'm going to get Patrick Mahomes killed. My offensive line is not going to be able to hold up. My wide receivers aren't going to get open to use his big arm. We're going to be seeing a whole bunch of spectacular plays from Patrick, and we're not going to win any games. It's going to be a Deshaun Watson type joint. We're going to see a whole bunch of great throws, your balls right in the pocket, him falling sideways, throwing it sidearm, just trying to make a play, and the team is going to let him down. So, no, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to do that to Patrick. I don't want to do that to Patrick.
If you're saying you don't want to do it because you like Patrick Mahomes, then go buy him a beer and go sit down and talk over.
Yes.
But if you're looking to win football games,
you're not going to win. you're not going to win.
So at the end of the day, he gives you a better chance to win those games, given the same circumstances, because we swapped one for the other. So the circumstances aren't going to change. So with you being high on what the potential could be, and if he runs with the ball and so on and so forth, talking about in terms of Danny drops, if you stick with that, right? All you're ultimately telling me is that, okay, I've got Danny drops in there, and I think that he can do X, Y, and Z for us moving forward this season. However, if I take the talent of Danny drops and I take the talent of Patrick Mahomes
is better. He's better. So but the team. But what you're not understanding, the team is not set up for Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to use any of his talents.
Correct. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, if we get into a scramble situation and we're rolling out to your right, who do you want? Rolling out. Who have you got? I understand what you're talking about. That's my point. So if you go through the progressions and if you go through and see that ultimately we don't have what it takes, so the offensive line is the biggest issue. I understand he doesn't have a deep threat. Tyreek Hill makes a huge portion for that. He does have,
exactly.
No. So my point is just simply that if I'm trading one for the other, and I use Patrick Mahomes, and I think that that's a tough one, but if you use any of these top-tier quarterbacks that Kurt just read off on that list, any of these top-tier quarterbacks in terms of what they're being paid, I'm taking every single one of them because they're proven commodities. I ultimately want what I know I'm going to get when I put them on the field. I ultimately know what's going to happen. Now, granted, last year in the Super Bowl was tough because that offensive line was not able to get anything done, and more importantly than that, the front seven for the Bucs ate him alive. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it was awful. But what I'm saying is, okay, take him out of that. Who else in there can do that? That's kind of the point in terms of if the O-line is not up to snuff, there's nobody who can ultimately get stuff done under those circumstances. I don't care.
Exactly. So then if that's the case, why would I put my team in salary cap hell when I can't even use his talents because I don't have the weapons for his talents? Why would I even do that?
Again, I just took it in terms of a vacuum, in terms of taking one off, putting the
even though that can't happen.
Obviously, that wouldn't be possible because of the money that he makes. You wouldn't be able to do that the way that it's currently constructed with the guys they have on the field. But the point still is, at the end of the day, I want the talent. I want the talented guys first, second, and third. And so if you can give me that opportunity,
so then go to the Cowboys.
I will restructure the team. Obviously, you build the team around what you've got. You don't necessarily look at it from a standpoint of, okay, well, he costs too much money, so now what do I do with him? If that opportunity is there for you to get Deshaun Watson, if that opportunity is there for you to pick up a Patrick Mahomes, if it's even there for you to pick up some Russell Wilson, you ultimately construct the team around him that ultimately works best for them. What the Giants have identified is that, okay, what we're missing from Danny Drops is if we give him enough opportunities in terms of the players around him to be able to make plays, to be able to extend plays, that's what we need to do. So they've tried to configure a roster that they believe will put Danny Drops in the best opportunity or the best position to be successful. And all I'm saying is, if you were to take a stronger quarterback, a better quarterback overall, and put him in said position, obviously the roster would change. You'd make the necessary moves in order for that team to be successful. But all in all, I want the talent first. You're not going to convince me that all of those names that he read off, you'd rather not have them because I'm so sold on Danny Drops, and that's the guy that I want because I could get him at a super discount because I'm still in his first year. I understand that, but I want the best quarterback. I want the best, and then we'll figure everything else after that. If you get him, you go get him. And you figure everything else after that. You build the team around that because that's not something that you find everywhere. If everyone had a Deshaun Watson, if everybody had Patrick Mahomes, if everybody had Josh, if everybody had one of those, well, it'd be easier. Or even Aaron Rodgers at this point. If everybody had one of those, they wouldn't be as valuable as they are. But because not everyone has them, that's what makes their worth go up. So I want that player if I can get him, especially at the obviously the most important position on the field is the quarterback. So again, I'm with you in terms of you have to make sure that the pieces fit. Sure, that's sports, period. The pieces have to fit in order for things to happen the correct way. But I also feel as though go find the best talent. Who is the best? I'm taking the best talent, and that's who I want. And I'll figure everything else around them because I trust in what he can do on the field or court or whatever we're playing.
All right. So where do you stand on this, Kurt?
That was so much going on. I don't even know where to begin with that. I'm gonna just leave it with that. I don't have nothing to say on that. But I wanted to talk about the game last night. I don't know if y'all watched the game.
Seeing a little bit of it. I seen with the first string offensive lineman, and I seen that they didn't look pretty well. They didn't look good. I seen our defense look pretty good with the run on the rush, but ultimately you can't really get too much.
Man.
Well, they was playing a lot of soft coverage. Everything's gonna be real vanilla, in the preseason. It's going to be the third game. That's what I'm going to really want to see, because that's going to be the dress rehearsal. That's when, the guys are really going to be in. We got Snow in the chat. Just going to let you know that he's talking all his mess about the Dolphins. Shout out Snow. But yeah. So what did you see out of the preseason game last night, Kurt?
So when I did watch the beginning, like you said, John, the line still for the offensive line, it's still not there. Still got some work to do for Daniel Jones for the few series that he was in. The defense, like I said, that secondary is looking terrible. I'm sorry. The secondary is not looking good. The Jets were throwing their passes right for 10, 15 yards every time, getting their 10 and 15 at times, They weren't able to capitalize, get touchdowns most of the time throughout the game.
Yeah.
They were getting down the field. Now, did y'all see? I don't know if you saw the highlight where Clement, the running back for the Giants,
He fumbled.
And I'm like, he's right there. Like, how you fumble now? It's almost like the same thing we went through before with who was the running back we had a few years ago? Oh gosh.
What, Wayne Gallman?
Yeah. Yes. So I just feel like there's still some work to be done. But like y'all said, that third game is going to be where we're really about to see where it really going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't put any stock in that first preseason game for me, because they're not enough. Those aren't a large portion of the guys on the field last night are not going to be on the roster, and if they are on the roster, they're going to be the fourth, fourth string guys who are not going to get any type of PT anyway. So for me, the first series is really all that I really cared about. The first three series, in which we got a chance to see what the O-line would look like. A couple of spots from the defense, few bright spots here and there, but for the most part, I didn't really expect much. You don't have any of your big hitters playing anyway. So again, the third, come back at me at the third preseason game, and then I'll maybe kind of look at it a little bit more. And then obviously into the opening of the season. But the first one was kind of just, first day jitters, get all that type of stuff out there, trying to go through some of the things we just worked on for a couple of weeks in camp. So again, that it's just great to have football back, no question about that. But further than that, I don't really put too much stock into the first preseason game. It's a lot of stuff that's still moving.
All right, so last question, then we can end the stream. What are y'all predictions? What are we going to be? What is the Giants going to be? Now, granted, remember, it's a 17-game season, so it's not a 16-game.
Are you looking for records? Or are you just looking for
record? I'm looking for a record. Let's start with Kurt.
You want the whole 16? Hold on, isn't it 17 games?
17.
Yeah, 17. Yes, 17.
Okay,
no, not a rundown of who we gonna win and be like. No, that's totally just the record.
Okay.
What do you think? We're gonna be 9-8, 8-9?
Yeah. I would say with this team,
he froze. What?
Was it a freeze?
What was it? What was it? We didn't hear you.
7-10.
7-10. Okay.
I said 7-10. Yeah.
7-10.
Conference. Okay. Conference. We should be 3-3.
Division. Oh, division.
Division. I'm sorry, division. In the East. 3-3.
All right.
We're gonna win both games against Philly.
All right. So Kurt basically doesn't have us in the playoffs at 7-10. All right.
I don't have us in the playoffs either. I think we're gonna either pull it out 9-8, 10-7. I think is what it is, but I don't think it'll be enough to ultimately overmatch those Cowgirls. As much as it pains me to say, I think the Cowgirls will ultimately take the division. I'm just gonna put my faith in them on that offense. It's on the offensive side of the. Now again, they can't stop anybody, but if you can outscore your opponent, you go for it that particular way. They don't have any other option but to outscore them. So I think you kind of tipped your hand in saying that you seem to believe that the Giants are going to be able to win this division. And I kind of just want to look at it and not pick with my heart, pick with my head. And from what I am looking at this particular point, now granted, my pick changes if the MRIs and everything that we're seeing from Dak, and Dak is not able to be Dak is not able to be the best quarterback in the division. If that is the case, then I'm going to give the nod to the Giants because I don't believe in the pigeons or the potato skins. They mean absolutely nothing to me. So if it is not, if Dak is not able to be Dak, if Zeke is not able to come back with the form of himself that we saw in 2017, 2018. If he's not able to he was in bad shape last year. He wasn't himself. Again, I believe because he got his money, he's a totally different guy now. If he is back to a version of what he was, and Dak is what everyone is projecting him to be coming off of that injury, then I give it to the Cowgirls. However, if that is not the case, then if the Cowgirls are not who they're supposed to be, then I will give it to the Giants. I think that we'll take that division if Dak is not who he is. But again, I think 10-7, 9-8. I can hold my feet to the fire. 10-7, but I just don't think it'll be enough to get out of the division ultimately.
All right.
Who's the pigeons and who's the potatoes? I'm sorry, I didn't get that one. You said
the Philadelphia
earlier.
Pigeons and the Washington Potato Skins.
Eagles in Washington. So first off, in the chat, Snow, we're not going 5-12. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
he said 5-12. Yeah, no.
He said the Cowboys should put hats on our division.
Now, I gotta disagree with you on this. So you were talking about the Cowboys, and I want Dak to be what he is because they're not going to win. And that's the thing that I don't understand. I don't know why people really are picking him, because the last time we seen Dak and he was healthy, 100% healthy, the team went 8-8. Even when last year, when he was putting up godly numbers, they only won one game before we met them in week 5. So they were 1-3 at that time. So I'm not seeing the correlation of the offense being so great that they're going to outscore everybody to the defense really giving up everything. That, like I said, that team is not built for Dak to throw for 5,000 yards. But I would love to see Dak throw for 5,500 yards because they're not going to win. I can guarantee that. But when it comes to the Giants, I see them being 10-7. And the reason why I see them being 10-7 is something that you said, well, basically all throughout the chat. And the reason why I see that we're going to win this division, when you look at and hold your feet to the fire and say, who's going to be the best offense? It's going to be the Cowboys. Who's going to be the second best? Most likely the Giants. Who's going to be the first? Who's the top defense? Washington. Who's the second defense? Giants. The best quarterback, you're going to say, is Dak. The second best quarterback, now it may be by default, but the second best quarterback in that division is Daniel Jones. If you're looking at the coaching, first coach would be Ron Rivera. Second coach, you would take Joe Judge. Everything correlates to being the most balanced team in the division. So why wouldn't we really think that they're going to win the division as in being the most balanced? Because they're going to be they're going to be pretty good on offense. Pretty good. They're not going to be those top 10. They'll probably be middle of the pack. They're going to be a top 10 defense. Overall, our division is just not that great. I mean,
not for nothing, John, not for nothing. Our division last year was terrible, and we almost won the division. So
exactly.
Think about it.
If Ingram catches the ball, if Ingram catches the ball in Philly, we win the division. We wouldn't even have to have the Eagles beat Washington to get in. If he catches the ball in Philly, we win, and we end up being 5-1 in the division. So the division don't really scare me. And this year we actually have a softer schedule than what we had last year. I'm seeing the Giants go 10-7, winning the division. Don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs.
So if you have the Giants at 10-7, that means that you've got the Cowgirls at 9-8.
9-8, 8-9, yeah. They're not. I'm telling you, that team is not built for Dak. It's not. That team is not built to have a guy throw for 5,000 yards, have damn near 40 touchdowns.
Who's the wide receivers for the Cowboys?
He even made the mention that he'd like to see the ball run effectively. I think a lot of onus for that team is going to go through Zeke. I think they're going to have to go back to, which is what they are kind of built for anyway, is going through.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, and with that being said, a lot of this is wait and see, because if Zeke is what he once was, if your prediction is only true if Danny is able to hold on to the football, if Saquon Barkley can show us what he showed us his rookie campaign with that over 2,000 yards rushing. If I was 5 inches tall, I might be an NBA star right now.
No.
I'm talking to you guys. So if you put ifs all over the board, but at the end of the day, we have to play the game. So we're obviously going off of what we've seen in the previous years, and what we expect moving forward.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
what I've seen from
until I see it.
And what I've seen from the previous years for the Cowboys is that they've been top offense. They can't stop nobody, and they keep on just winning 8 games. So ever since Dak's rookie year, and they went 13-3. They've went 9-7, 8-8. Like, it's nothing that's crazy spectacular. And to answer your question, Kurt, they do have the best wide receiver core in the division. They got Amari Cooper, they got CeeDee Lamb, they got Michael Gallup. Right. So they got weapons. I'm not saying that
I forgot about Cooper. I totally forgot about Amari Cooper. I don't know how I forgot about him.
But their offensive line is getting old. They can't even stay on the field for 5 games. Like you said, Zeke is looking like he's running in Cabo sand. That defense can't stop nobody. Like, I don't see what everybody's seeing in the Cowboys. I just think maybe because they covered them so much on a national level, and everybody that's on there, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna pick them.
Again, I can't pick the Giants, because if I pick the Giants, ultimately that makes me the homer that is just believing and choosing with my heart. And I'm not convinced based off of what I've seen, or we still have to see more. Mm-hmm. And I probably said that 1,000 times thus far. I want to see more, and obviously we will. But I have to see him shore up because turning that ball over as much as he has in the past, you can't really do that. Again, if he is able to make that transition in terms of using his legs more often, if, as you mentioned, they take the handcuffs off of him and he's able to actually get outside of the pocket and actually roll out and move with the ball, I think that can actually ultimately open up some things. If Saquon can stay healthy. But again, if these things are possible, if these things can happen, then, I'm okay with that prediction, but I'm not going to put them ahead of Dallas until I see them take that stranglehold, just because I like the weapons that they have on offense. Overall, they mean in Dallas, and Dak is the best quarterback in the division. So
you just like the talent. You like the talent, like you was just saying. You like the talent.
So go back to it. The talent for me matters. You got to have talented guys on your roster. You can have the guys who work hard and so on and so on. That's great. You need those guys. They're part of the locker room. I got it. But at the end of the day, this league, you need talent to win games. And if you have talent in the right places and the cohesion, that's what gets it done. So I think that they're a more talented team than we are, especially on the offensive end of the field. But on the defensive side is where we can make up that ground. So, it remains to be seen. But ultimately, I think it's going to come down to a couple of games that will need to be won on the offensive end. Because you're going to have to outscore your opponent. And I don't have the schedule in front of me to be able to see where those spots will be at. Yeah. But I think if you kind of just pick a win here, that'll probably be a win there, and you go down the schedule week by week. I just feel as though I can probably rack up a few more wins. If I was sitting, I would say a 12 and a possible. On the Cowgirl side versus on our side. I don't know if I can find 12 wins on our side.
Oh no. We're not getting to 12. We're not getting to 12.
Well, I didn't even mean that, but I mean I'd have a better chance. I think you can find 11 to 12 wins on the Cowgirl side before I can find them on our side. Because again, I don't believe that. But I'm just saying, I feel as though if I look through their schedule, there's a few games where they can pull it out. All is predicated on the health of Dak Prescott.
All right. So, Kurt, you got any last words?
Yeah. Shout out to my man Jay Suttles. Easy 3. Got this going on. Appreciate this. I want to definitely do something with basketball again when it comes up. Mm-hmm. I got something I think we can all share about and get a show together we can do. But definitely with football, I can't wait for the season to begin. I'm excited. I hope the Giants win more than 7 games. But if it doesn't happen, it's okay. I just want to make some progress at least. I just hope we get some progress in the division and in the season. D, thank you again, man. Good to see y'all guys. Love y'all, brothers, as always.
All right, man. Like I said, I would like to thank y'all for coming to the chat. Everybody that was in the chat, everybody that was in here throughout the live stream. If you stayed throughout the whole thing, kudos to you. Thanks a lot.
No, Snow, be quiet, Snow. Be quiet, Snow. I'm sorry, John.
I appreciate the support. Delow, Kurt, Thanks for coming through, 914 crew. All right. And we'll do this sometime again. All right. I'm out.
Peace.
Later.